Hello friends, welcome to Health, Music and Fitness channel. Today we will be discussing a very interesting ECG, and if you have gone through the previous videos, by now you should be knowing how to start reading an ECG. So as you know, first we'll look at the calibration, and the calibration is normal looking, is 10 small squares in height, and there is a flat plateau and then a vertical fall. So this is a normal calibration, which means that you will not get a false R wave or a false S wave or a false Q wave. So once the calibration is okay, then you look at the rate, rhythm and axis. So heart rate looks normal to me. Grossly it's a normal heart rate between 60 to 100, but if you want to be very specific, particular about calculate the heart rate, so you can calculate by dividing 1500 by number of small squares between 2 RR intervals, or 300 by number of big squares between 2 RR intervals. So that will give you the heart rate, and heart rate is okay. And then you look at the rhythm. So every P wave is normal looking. Is every P wave followed by a QRS complex? Yes, it is. So it's a normal sinus rhythm. Then the third parameter is axis. You look at the axis. Is the axis normal, that is between 0 degree to 90 degrees, or is it left axis deviation or right axis deviation or extreme right axis deviation? And it is very important. So in this ECG you see, in this you look in lead 1, you look at QRS complex, there is a small R wave and a deep S wave. So basically S wave is deeper than R wave. So this is a QRS is negative in lead 1. Then you look in lead AVF. In lead AVF you have to note all these changes. Again in AVF it is a isoelectric complex, which means R roughly equals to S wave. So now you have to see. Now we'll look at this circle. This circle is very important. I always advise that we should plot these ECG leads on this circle, and at least 100 ECGs you should interpret looking at this circle in your mind. Now you plot lead 1. Lead 1 is negative. This is the positive pole of lead 1. This is the negative pole of lead 1, 0 and 180 degrees. So lead 1 we will place on 180 degrees at this point in the circle. Then you look at AVF. AVF is at plus 90 degrees. These are the positive poles of these electrodes. So AVF's positive pole is at plus 90 degree. So then it is a right axis deviation. Then next step is you look at the most isoelectric complex. In this, if you look in lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, AVR, AVL, AVF, in the first 6 leads, lead 2 looks most isoelectric complex. R wave roughly equals to S wave in lead 2. So lead 2 is out here. Then you have to see what is perpendicular to this lead 2, which is in plus 90 to 180 degree. Now what is perpendicular to lead 2 is, this is 90, 120, 150. All these leads I had told you, they are placed at multiples of 30 degree, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So what is perpendicular to lead 2 in this right axis deviation quadrant? Plus 150 degree. So this is a right axis deviation. Now once you have discovered that the patient has a right axis deviation, then you should think of the causes of right axis deviation. At your level you should remember right bundle branch block, left posterior fascicular block. These two blocks you should always think of. If the QRS is broad and there is a right axis deviation, it is right bundle branch block. If QRS is broad, there is a left axis deviation, that is LBB. QRS is of normal duration, there is a right axis deviation, left posterior fascicular block. QRS is of normal duration, there is a left axis deviation, LEHB, left anterior hemi block. Now you look in leads V1 to V6. These are anterior chest leads. Now in V1 you are seeing there is a P wave, biphasic P wave. This is the positive component of P wave, which denotes right atrium, and negative component left atrium. So P wave is biphasic in V1. So this is a very important lead if you want to assess atrial enlargement, left atrial enlargement or right atrial enlargement or biatrial enlargement. Okay, then you look at the QRS complexes. So here you will see that you are seeing a small positive upslur, that is the R wave, then S wave, then next positive wave in the QRS complex is R dash, R S R dash, and there is a ST depression with concavity upwards and a T wave inversion. So and QRS is slightly broad, so this is a complete right bundle branch block. Now you should always wonder why RSR dash is formed in right bundle branch block. So as we know, interventricular septum is the first of all in the ventricles that gets depolarized during the depolarization in the ventricles. So the first R wave is because of the depolarization of the interventricular septum. So as we know, V1 and V2 are right oriented leads, that is they are looking at the right ventricle, and when the interventricular septum is getting depolarized, it's always depolarized from left to right. So when the impulse is coming from left to right, the impulse is coming towards V1, so it is perceived as a small positive deflection which becomes the R wave, and at that time the leads which are over the left ventricle, the lateral leads V5, V6, lead 1 AVL, so they will form a small Q wave which is a normal Q wave. So it's not that always whenever there is a Q wave it is because of MI. So and in fact if there is no Q wave in lateral oriented leads, that is V5, V6, lead 1 AVL, it could be a sign of interventricular septum infarction, anteroseptal MI. So that is very important. So whenever there is a small R wave in V1, there has to be a small Q wave in left lateral leads, which is totally normal. And then you see there is a S wave, R S R dash. So why is this S wave formed? Now you again look at the circle and you look at the ECG. So once the interventricular septum is depolarized, the electrical impulse then travels to the left ventricle, and the left ventricle is getting depolarized, and that forms the S wave. Because the impulse is going away from V1, so it is perceived as a S wave. It can't be a Q wave because it is not an MI. Okay, so S wave is formed. Then the same impulse, the left bundle branch will depolarize the right ventricle because the right bundle branch is blocked. There is no conduction happening through the right bundle branch. So it is from one chamber to the other. It is from left ventricle to the right ventricle. So QRS gets widened. There is a delay in the conduction spread. So it is more than 3 small squares, 0.12 seconds. It's more than that. So that gives a broad QRS, and whenever there is a conduction abnormality like this, there is a delay, the ST segment might get little depressed with concavity upwards, and there is a T wave inversion which denotes defect in the repolarization. So then that now this left bundle branch is sending the electrical current to right ventricle to depolarize it, because right ventricle also has to contract. So it will form another positive wave which will be called R dash. So we call it R S R dash or rabbit's ear. And again, whenever there is a R wave getting formed in V1, V2, there will be a S wave in V5, V6. So this is how you should correlate the different leads and the different R waves and the S waves in the opposite lead. So by default V1, V2 they are lying opposite to V5, V6 electrically. Anterior leads are electrically opposite to inferior leads. If something gets elevated in inferior leads, opposite of that might happen in lateral leads. If the lateral leads show something positive, the inferior leads might show something negative. Okay, so this is a finding of right bundle branch block. Now you see in leads 2, 3 there is a S wave. Now this is a complete RBB, and there is a S wave in lead 2 and 3. So which means there might be a small left anterior hemiblock also which is beginning to happen. And also note coving which is present in AVL. There is a slight coving present in AVL, and that might be because of a small infarct which is starting or which happened in the recent past. So this is all in this ECG, friends, and I hope you liked it and you benefited from it. Please do watch our videos and subscribe if you haven't, and click the like button, comment on it, and share the link with your friends. Thank you.